In a world full of movie podcasts, here is one more. Welcome to Defend Your Movie with Sean Donnelly.
The time has come again. The champion must stand. It can only be one of us. Victoria! So stand up and fight, my friend. There's a title you must defend. Shut it on, bring it to me. Defend your movie.
Hello there, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Defend Your Movie. I am your host, Sean Patrick Paul Leprechaun Donnelly.
Paul?
Patrick Paul.
Wow.
Paul is my confirmation name.
Fucking Mick.
That's what you get. That's what you get with this guy. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you like the new format. I am joined today by two very funny dudes. A friend of the pod, co-host of the pod, the man, Andy Fiori, ladies and gentlemen.
Good to be back.
He's back in the fold here.
Yes.
You weren't here last week.
No.
Just because you couldn't do it. That's the only reason why.
I know. I bummed I missed it.
It's quite all right. Don't worry about it. And our guest for today, such a funny comic. I've known him for years. You know him from everything. Christian Finnegan, everybody.
From everything.
From everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
TV, television, stand-up.
Not recently,
everything.
but yeah.
Whatever. Still on TV.
You know, I quit. I became an atheist in the middle of confirmation. That was my big thing.
Did
and
you
my
really?
dad was my confirmation teacher. It was like such a dick move on my part.
What a punk rock
Such
thing to
a
do
dick
as
move.
13.
Catholics right
And
here.
he had to like still keep teaching the class even though his own son had bailed. So he had like a room full of teenage like boys who'd be like, so your own son quit? Like, why are we here?
So were you like doing it as protest? Like you?
No, I mean, I was that kid. I mean, I was kind of the, you people are all sheep.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, to be honest, I've talked about it before. I think if we talked about church on here, I always tell people. I always tried to get into it when I was a kid, like mass and stuff like that, and I couldn't get into it.
Like,
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm
it's almost
super
like,
into math.
It's almost like it's almost like sports. You have to follow it. You have to know all the apostles. But like, I remember one of the things that would freak me out is that in one part of mass, you're supposed to. The response, the crowd is supposed to say, the congregation is supposed to say, is it is right to give thanks and praise.
Yeah.
And that sounds so cultish to me.
Yeah,
so every
yeah.
week I would just go, I would like to give thanks and praise.
It is right to give
It is
thanks
right to
and
give
praise.
thanks,
It is the right thing to do. So I get like 13-year-old Christian, like, whatever, I'm out of here.
I was very like black turtlenecky, and I remember like I kind of made a big stink about it. You know, like every young budding atheist, the world must know.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
I'm gonna tear your playhouse down.
I
You
was
were
way
like-
too scared.
You're
I
like
was-
alternative, like, right? Or you're like new wave. You were new wave. You were new
well,
wave.
no, I mean, it's funny. I was always kind of like, I never really totally fit in any, like, I had one foot, I was in a hair metal band, but I was also like in the drama club.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I was in that sort of
Yeah,
general
we would have hung out in high school. I think.
pussified.
That's the crew that my sister was like new wave. So she was like, I would always listen to the music she listened to. So it was like the Smiths and like Erasure, which is like a very gay band. It's a very gay band. Isn't it very gay?
I mean, they are too.
They're
gay
very
men.
gay. But
They're-
even the music is like,
I confirm.
Oh, yeah.
I never thought of it as gay when I was a kid, but it's a very like clubby,
I'll
dancey.
try to discover.
Give me a little Australia.
Yeah, it's a great song, though.
Yeah. Oh, L'Amour, that's a very gay
yeah.
song. But it's great. It's fantastic. But I think I was like, this is like badass. And then I'm like, no, wait, it's not. It's not.
I mean, there's ass involved.
There's ass involved.
What? Huh?
It's different kind of ass.
Yay.
So you were like your little rebel, and then you, during the class, like you were taking it, and then one day you just walked out? Or what?
No, I just,
You stopped going.
I had pretty much already, like, my dad kind of guilted me into being involved because I was already kind of, I'm against the church. But by the time confirmation rolled around.
Right.
And then, my uncle was also my sponsor, and so I kind of just bailed on them all. But I can't do this anymore. Well, and part of the thing that bothered me so much, and this is such a dumb, young, smartest kid in your sixth grade sort of mindset, but nobody else. No, they're not even listening. Like they're not even paying attention. So it's like which is the truth. I mean, everybody just kind of
totally
stumbles
true.
through it because
they tell you to say something, you say it, and you go. Yeah. You don't know what it is.
My general opinion about this stuff, and this is probably not worthwhile, not really
go
what this
for it.
podcast is about.
It's
is
not,
that
but we start like
most
this.
people don't really believe in God.
That's
really.
what
Most
I
people
think.
don't.
That's what I think. Especially Catholics. That's what I think.
Yeah, and most people it's just like, whatever. Can we stop talking about this? It's what you do. Just do it. Just do
Right.
it.
It's traditional more than it is.
Agreed.
It's literally you're doing it because you don't want to get the slack for not admitting that you don't believe it.
Yeah.
Especially Catholics because it's been around for so long, and especially Catholics from like the East Coast. Like Catholics from the East Coast, like there's a thing there where it's like, yo, you believe in God? Yeah. And like it's like
Well, there's that once a Catholic, always a Catholic thing, you know.
Right.
And my dad, my dad's kind of, he very, very Catholic growing up, but he even admits that it's way more about sort of the cultural and there's nothing wrong with that. Now that I'm older, I actually see a lot of people
see the benefits of it.
A lot of people say I believe in God, but I don't believe in organized religion. I'm like the exact opposite. Like I believe in organization. I believe in having a place to go and a community of people who you can kind of be around and sort of think for an hour a week about what it means to be a not piece of shit.
Right.
But the God part, I don't give a shit.
Right, exactly. But I think after a while, because when we were kids, I think, don't you remember it being taught it's a literal interpretation of the Bible?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
That all this stuff happened?
Yes.
Well, yeah.
Now the narrative is no, it's all symbolic. And I'm like, no. When did that switch? Because I remember being told, all this all happened.
Well, and they're very, they're very oily about it. It's like depends who's asking, depends when the person's asking. Like if the person's a kid, then well, yes, this literally happened. If there's an adult, well, there's metaphors and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
It's always they're morally flexible enough that they can kind of alter, depending on what the argument is. I'm sorry, movies.
No, this is super interesting. We always start small talk first, and this is actually bigger than small talk, but
The biggest talk.
But this is that's one of the best things about Religulous, which is like that Bill Maher documentary, which is more of a comedy than really is a documentary. And it's kind of goofy, but there's one part, it's the funniest thing ever. He's talking to some random priest that works with the Vatican, and then he goes, wait, he's asking about all the literal interpretation stuff. He goes, what about the miracles and this and that? And then he goes, and the guy's going, come on. Come on, that's all. It's all make believe. Come on, stop.
I feel like that's where this current pope is at. He's like,
I think so too.
that's
But
kinda...
there's use to that. I mean, I do have this weird thing in me that whenever somebody's arguing a point, I automatically want to argue the opposite point.
Yeah.
But it's like there is value to that. There's value to metaphors. There's value to sort of aphorisms and sort of fables and things like that to sort of teach you like
parables.
Here's an instruction manual to how to sort of get through life and not be.
I was just literally scared to not believe. I had Catholic school my entire life. Literally, I even ended up...
They try to be intimidating.
Yeah.
The girl I lost my virginity to was actually an atheist growing up. Like, and her parents were, like, she had been raised atheist, and I just didn't get it. Like, Even at that time, I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Even though I consider myself an atheist, I was like, but I'm just doing it to be a badass. Like, you actually believe?
The one that always annoyed me is that the picture they paint is saying you need religion to be a good person, which isn't true. And that's kind of the thing. It's like, hey, if you don't have this, you're gonna there's a slippery slope. You're gonna become evil and whatever happens. And I never bought into that but at the same time, it is in interesting ways it's telling you how to be a good person. The Good Samaritan, all these parables they have. When you're a kid, you're like, oh yeah, that's the right and wrong thing to do. It's just it's almost like an extra shot of like, hey, just so you know, this is the moral. It teaches you morals in a different way.
Yes.
It should just be morals. That's what it should be.
Treat others the way...
treat others the way you want to be treated. That's the golden rule. But I was the same way, and I never full on believed it. But I always like would try, because I would be surrounded by people who believed it, and I'd be like, I want to, because it seems like the right thing to do, but I just could never full on be like, I 100% believe this.
Yeah, I think that there was something in me that was sort of the opposite, where I will admit, I'm older now. I can admit that some of me was totally full of shit at the time.
Right.
But it's like I became an atheist for reasons that were not totally unrelated to the fact that I also hated the Red Sox. Because it's like, I live in Boston, but I don't like what you like, so fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, I'm different than you are. Yeah. There is a part of that in me. I
heard this bit on Sirius the other day.
Oh, yeah.
I literally just heard Christian, I hate the Red Sox.
It was one of my oldest bits,
But it's true, and I know what you mean, because I was the same way with like sports or like I think I didn't start drinking until I was like 20 something.
Me too. I was 2 weeks from my 21st birthday.
Yeah, because I was like, I don't need drinking.
Totally.
I was a skateboarder. I was like whatever it was. But thanks for doing the show, man.
Sure.
It's great seeing you guys. Nice to see you.
Have a great day. No, but I agree. I think we're on the same wavelength as far as on some of that stuff. We have a new format on the show. Me and Andy have talked about it before. The way it used to go, I just told Christian about this, is if you listen to the podcast before, people were coming in defending one movie. The way we've changed it, which I think is way more fun, is now it's going to be versus. So each podcast is going to be blank versus blank. Today I think we picked two really good.
I'm excited.
And to be honest, when I first talked to Christian, it's funny because the first movie, I just had Christian pick a movie and I wanted to pick something I liked better that kind of, that was related to it. Yeah. And you picked High Fidelity, which I do like a lot. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I go, you know what? I'll defend Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind because they're both breakup movies. And then Christian was like, to be honest, I don't know if I could do
Yeah, I actually like Spotless Mind better. Eternal Sunshine is probably one of my top 4 movies.
It's on my top. It's on my top 5. And I was like, oh shit. So we had a little bit. So I was like, what else could do it? And then what I decided on, and the more I thought about it, it's like, do I like this movie better? And I do. And I think I can defend it more. Is Grosse, Pointe Blank, and they work together because they're both relationship movies. Mm-hmm. They both have John Cusack in them.
Both Cusackian.
And so I think that is enough.
Music features heavily in both.
Yes, they're both.
No, I
soundtracks.
I think a lot of us, a lot of people instinctively kind of put them in the same corner of their mind. Do you know what I mean? Like
100%.
They came around on the same period of time.
Cusack, and then I think because we're so similar in age, I think that Cusack is like, when I was a kid, Cusack was like a big deal. Like, what a big deal.
Lloyd Dobler.
If you grew up in the 80s, what?
Lloyd Dobler.
Yeah.
All
right.
Lloyd Dobler.
Kind of almost one of those, like, Tom Petty dudes where you don't think, like, that he's a huge star, and then it was like, holy shit, I know 40 of these dudes' songs.
Right.
Like John Cusack, it's like, he's never been, like, the biggest guy in Hollywood, but he's had a longer career than anybody, and there's probably 20 movies of his that you've seen.
And you follow along with it. Like, you remember, like, in the late 90s when he had, like, a slump and he was making, like, these terrible straight-to-video movies.
Well, he's kind of back in that spot now lately. Like,
he is.
He's kind of in that weird Nicolas Cage.
Yes.
Bruce Willis, too, which is weird. Like, Bruce, every once in a while,
Is Bruce Willis in there?
But I see these movies that have Bruce Willis in them, and it's like Antonio Sabato Jr. and Bruce Willis, or whatever, and it's just one of those, like, the poster is just their sort of faces in shadow, and like that's it, and you don't know what that is.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean,
that explains why he's doing a roast, I guess. Because he was a huge.
I also think there's just so many movies being made now.
Yeah,
and also I think the digital.
Yeah,
I think your main Bruce Willis non-comedies, because he did that one that Kevin Smith directed, or whatever, and him and Tracy Morgan. But I think you're not like if you like Richard Gere's done. Think about it that way.
Yeah.
There's no more Richard Gere.
Well, a lot of these guys,
because they don't put those in theaters anymore.
Well, yeah, they came up in this age where they had to be above the title, and some dudes just can't transition to being below the title.
Right.
Like, they can't transition into that sort of period. Like, oh, now as when I'm a character actor and I'm the fifth lead, as opposed to the first lead, and so I'll be in a shitty, low budget piece of crap movie as long as it's Bruce Willis in.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, yeah, good point. They want the name.
True.
Of it.
Yeah, very true.
And they probably think.
I mean, Tom Cruise is the only one who's been able to keep that plate spinning. Like,
absolutely, and also get people to the movies.
Yeah,
even though he's lost, I think he's lost a little bit.
I think he
has
too. Yeah. I mean,
you know who's really good at the thing you just said? Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, you're right.
What a great transition, because he was a top of the bill guy, and then he is literally like a third lead.
He picks good movies and good roles, and they're in, But yeah, I mean, Alec Baldwin kind of did that to a degree.
Like that.
I mean, I think he did it because he kind of had to. I think
he's probably just difficult to work with.
Yeah, I think he took a real hit, and so he had to kind of transition into smaller roles. But yeah, I mean, very few people can kind of once they've, because we grew up in the era of that sort of big
blockbuster,
big blockbuster, summer blockbuster thing, and it's got to be hard to be like, oh, now I'm playing somebody's uncle. What?
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, you can age out at this point.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, like the level of movies that are made. So, like, you either have these big name comedies that are coming out, or you have these giant blockbusters. And the theaters, they're losing so much money. I think they're going, we're not putting those middle of the road thrillers as much in, or horror movies they will, but not like the Richard Gere, like those 95 to 99.
Dr. T and the Women?
Right. Stuff like that, or like the horror ones you would do where it was like
the Mothman Chronicles,
Prophecies,
no,
or whatever.
Prophecies, whatever. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that stuff doesn't that mid-tier $20 million movie that your mom and dad would go to see on a Friday night on date night doesn't exist anymore.
It doesn't exist
Denzel
anymore.
Washington is the only one who's still making them. He's the only dude who makes like not. I mean, I guess he's in that new Equalizer, which is a sequel, but I think it's like the first sequel he's ever done.
And it's funny. It's a TV character that was played by an English.
Well, it was a book series, I guess, and then they made it from because I went through the same process. Like, why are they making a movie of that shitty TV show from the 80s? I guess it was a series of very popular books that then got turned into a crap TV show. Yeah. And this is like, no, we're gonna do the book version. We'll do it right this time.
We're going straight from the books.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when it go back to John Cusack, I think what it is that he kind of he was never affected by, like, some people get in that rut and then they don't get out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you had Travolta and then Pulp Fiction brought him back and then he kind of made some crap, but he's still big. But he was always Travolta.
Yeah.
John Cusack, almost like his slump was under the radar. Like nobody, because he was never, I guess he was an above the bill guy, but it was always on like a romantic comedy.
Serendipity.
Yeah, and he always has like an everyman quality, which is kind of his thing. Like you never walk out of a John Cusack movie like, what an acting tour de force. You just don't think in Yeah. You know what I mean?
But I will say this, I think in the 80s ones, I do remember being like, he's so cool. Like I remember thinking him being, like in... Well, High Fidelity kind of did it, well, to make your own case for you.
Yeah.
But like, and the two we're talking about today did it for me too, because those came out in the 90s, 98, 99.
Mm-hmm.
And but even in Better Off Dead, I'm like, Better Off Dead is so good, and he is kind of cool in that. Like he's just
you know what I think? I think Better Off Dead is underrated.
It's
not underrated, but it's undersold in how much that has meant for that dude's career. Because I think Better Off Dead came out, and I don't know. I mean, I'm older than you guys. I don't know. I know very few people who saw it in the theater. But
I did not know.
In the early days of cable, when they only had about 10 movies that they had to show, Better Off Dead was one of them.
Absolutely.
And so they would play it constantly. And so kids of my generation, like, we know that movie by heart.
Same here.
It was just on 1,000 times.
Yeah, and it was funny and it was weird.
And so I feel like in many ways I've grown up with him, like, on parallel track.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And then like, there was the sequel, there's One Crazy Summer, and that was a big hit. Like it's like
not a sequel. Same director, not a sequel.
It wasn't a sequel, was it?
No, it's not a sequel.
See, somebody told me it was a sequel.
Yeah, same director, Savage Steve Holland.
Yeah,
Savage
who is
Steve.
Directed Porky's, I think, right?
Yes, he did.
And he did something else too. I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, he had a little run there.
You know what? The guy from Crocodile Dundee 2. Remember the punk that helps him out? You ever see Crocodile Dundee 2?
I love how you just like say it as remember Crocodile Dundee 2?
I've seen that movie like 15 times.
I've seen one, of course. I probably saw two, but
there's this guy who literally from there. This guy Jace Alexander, his name is. I think his name is Jace Alexander. He was he directed a bunch of episodes of Law and Order SVU, and then he got caught on child pornography charges.
Well, you know who recently kind of got wrapped up in that is the guy from Better Off Dead who played Ricky, the heavy dude.
Did he?
Well, because he became
he's from Head of the Class too.
Yeah, and he became like he runs like 5 shows on Nickelodeon. Like he became the guy, and apparently there was some. I mean.
Well, I think his name is Mark in Head of the Class. I think his name is Mark in that show. I forget his actual name.
I don't remember his name, but yeah, I think he got wrapped up in the
Me
sort
Too?
Of, well, just kind of I mean, Me Too in a writ large way, just in sort of like, all right, we're officially not afraid to call out people who are creeps.
Shit! And it sucks for him because he's always looked like a creep. Like it doesn't matter. Like,
I know it's a little on brand.
Yeah, way to go, right on the nose there, freaking Ricky from Better
Mother
Off
will
Dead.
not be pleased.
So when it comes down to these movies, I think already, I think the John Cusack factor. I'll watch. Like I even like Serendipity is even great. If you watch Serendipity, it's known as a bad movie, I think, but I liked it a lot.
Well, I think it
I
came
liked it
out.
John Cusack.
It came out in that just glut of just where there were about 50
romantic comedies.
When Harry Met Sally clones coming out around the same time, and so
it's like. I don't know, because New York's in it, and then, like, who's in it? Jeremy Piven's in it. It's him and Jeremy Piven who are in a bunch of movies together, and they grew up together.
Yeah.
And in, not Schaumburg, Illinois, somewhere in Illinois.
Yeah, it's a suburb. Might be, but it's, God damn it, do people from Chicago love fucking talking about Chicago.
Oh, they love it.
Oh, God.
Chicago's a great area, but there's
fine.
What is that? What is the town from all the John Hughes movies is a fictitious town, but it was really a lot of them were filmed in this one town in Illinois.
Yeah,
like 16 Candles. I forget the name of it, but all the John Hughes universe is supposed to take place in this one town, basically.
Right.
Like Breakfast Club.
You know, the greater unified.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's like Marvel Universe, but with way more crying.
But I think the principal from Ferris Bueller.
Yes, Jeffrey Jones. Yes,
yeah.
Who was like a serious actor.
Yeah, he played Merrick in Deadwood.
Yeah, but that was after the scandal, which
That's
makes
what I
me
thought.
think that there has to be some mitigating stuff there. Because,
I think there was.
Because you don't come back from
you don't come back.
His scandal happened at the same time as Pee Wee Herman's. They both happened about the same time.
But like Pee Wee Herman, it's a
completely different.
Yeah.
No, but when Pee Wee Herman had they were on Paul Rubin's case about some pictures that he had.
Oh, really?
But he didn't get arrested because they were literally. They were like art. It was like art pictures in his house, and they were trying to pretend it was child pornography.
I love the child pornography. Naked children.
Word of the day is pubes.
No, Jambi.
But so when it comes to these to John Cusack movies, I will watch any John Cusack movie, even that Room 1617, whatever it's called, or Room 1043, or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of a shitty movie or whatever. But I'll watch it because John Cusack's in it. And it's directly related to how cool I thought he was as a kid. But these two movies helped solidify how cool he was. He was like acceptable hipster, not acceptable hipster. He was like relatable hipster to the rest of the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
That's
he was cool in a way that seemed like a dude who you might be friends with. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like an unattainable cool. It was just like, oh, he's like a guy that I would hang out with.
Yes.
Theoretically.
Like dorky cool.
You know?
Well, that's a good segue into his role in High Fidelity.
What?
Because it portrays that, I don't want to say hipster, but there was a time, and I think High Fidelity is 2000.
It's definitely music snob.
Yeah, the record store music snob guy, where that was romanticized.
Oh yeah. Well, but what I love, I'm a huge Nick Hornby fan. Is the guy who wrote that book, and he wrote About a Boy, and he wrote a bunch of other great books, and I've always thought of myself, growing up, because even though I secretly did love basketball, I was like not a sports guy, and all that, and so I would kind of paint myself as being like I'm more an arty type guy. And it was only when I got older that I realized that the music obsessive personality type is such a male archetype, like that sort of collector. I must know more trivia than you. I must know every new band coming out. I must categorize it.
Right.
That is a serious dude thing,
Yeah.
And which I
have that
in
so
spades.
much.
Well,
Yeah, me too. I have that.
But yours was related to music, and the archetype is knowing more than somebody else on something. Because then they do it with sports all the time. You have guys that are blowhard that talk about sports.
Absolutely.
Like somebody would talk about music. You know what I mean?
And the idea of having kind of like a secret knowledge. It's like I hear more than you hear. It's like
right.
You just hear the melody. I hear the bass line. I hear the harmony parts. I hear the compression.
I'm breaking it down. I'm breaking it down.
Yeah, that is. And I have that to this day, and I'm not ashamed of it, but I'm less proud of it than I used to be.
Yeah.
I see it for what it is, but it's like one of the things I do love about that movie is that, yes, it does deify music and all those things, but it also really takes the piss out of that sort of archetype, that guy who's like, I know more than you, but it's like, yeah, you're a bunch of losers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Like
It kinda
the Jack Black character and the Tommy Wiseau character. Like it's, that they're stunted on some basic human level, and they channel that into knowing about Bob Dylan deep cuts.
Well, one of the reasons that I love his character in Grosse Pointe Blank so much is because, first off, the music plays a big part in Grosse Pointe Blank as well. Now, he's not a music guy. He's a hitman in it. But just the idea of John Cusack being a hitman for me, I was like, I'm on board because it's such against type. Like, if you in High Fidelity, he's so on. It's like that you would just, I think that's how he would just be off camera. Like,
well, he is a music dork.
Right.
Like, I know that. Like, I mean, just because you follow him on Twitter or whatever, it's like
he's that guy.
He is that guy.
He's that guy. Sure. So the hitman thing, it's like, well, he's not a hitman. And then also, I liked...
as far as we know.
I think as far as we know. And also, I like that the fact, the way Grosse Pointe Blank came out first, before High Fidelity, I believe. I think it did.
Yeah. Grosse Pointe Blank 87,
yes.
High Fidelity's 2000.
Right, okay. Grosse Pointe Blank felt like here's grown-up John Cusack to me, because the last time I paid attention to John Cusack before that was all those John Hughes movies.
Interesting, yeah.
So when I see him in Grosse Pointe Blank, I'm like, he's back, and he's really cool.
Yeah.
And he's dating Minnie Driver, who I was in love with because of Good Will
I had
Hunting.
a huge Minnie Driver thing. I don't know why.
Yeah, that's another part of my defense, is that better femme fatale, what do you want to call it? I had a huge crush on Minnie Driver.
Ingenue,
yes.
It's funny because when you were saying that the podcast used to be like defending a movie that nobody likes but you or whatever, one of the movies that I feel that way about is this rom-com that nobody gives a shit
I know
about.
what it is. And Carol Connor. Yes, it's
I
good.
love Return
it's
to Me.
good.
I love
Return
it.
to Me.
Return to Me. Her and David Duchovny, and it's like it's just a sweet little movie. And also
Bonnie Hunt is in it, and Bonnie Hunt's amazing.
I love.
Well, she wrote it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's I for whatever reason, whenever that movie's on cable, I always watch it, and I find her just so like, how some girls or like some actresses, you just like, I just want to date you.
Yeah.
Like, I just want you to be my girlfriend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like Rachel McAdams. And then she's so fucking cool. But we're friends. No.
Right.
But that Minnie Driver was like that for me. I had a huge crush on Minnie Driver, and that movie, anything she was in around that time, same thing.
Yeah.
I loved her in that because of how she acted. And Carol O'Connor's in it too. Archie Bunker's in it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
Archie Bunker's in it with another old timer.
Well, there's like there's that cadre
of
like 4 old dudes who hang out and play poker and argue
right.
about Sammy Davis Jr. and stuff.
And then, Duchovny's funny in it. It's like a funny. And Bonnie Hunt is one of those people that I think is one that should have been so famous and is such a great actress and so funny. Bonnie Hunt's one of these people that you're surprised when you find out she never did stand-up.
Yeah,
Could you just assume she was a stand-up?
Yeah.
And she just had a little bit of success in the 90s and the 2000s, whatever it was, but like she was always a character actor, but she was so much more than that. She's so fun. I think she's hilarious.
Yeah.
She had a talk show.
She did have a talk show,
and
my
she was
dad worked on
hilarious
it.
on a talk show. She was like,
Yep.
it was like a real talk show. Like it was like cutting through the bullshit of corny talk show stuff.
I don't like to, go down the sort of easy path of kind of like, men stink and blah, blah, blah. But it's like you do see that just men, like mediocre dudes, are just given more chances.
Absolutely.
Than, like somebody like Bonnie Hunt, like, I guess it wasn't like a huge runaway success in the first year, and so they shit-canned it or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like, she's funny enough that she deserved to get a little bit more support. I mean,
I think this Harry Connick show has been on for like 2 years already.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. Yeah.
And then it's literally, you can tell, if you watched the Harry Connick show, I watched it just for comedic research. And
I go to the treadmill in the gym. Something has to be on the television.
God, I've never seen a show where it's like, oh, even you do not want to be there, dude. Like, this is so crazy.
Really?
Like,
I've never seen it.
It's like, it's not like he's like unfriendly or he's being a dick or anything like that. It's just he's like, because he was a movie star too for 3 years. Whatever.
Well, he's one of those dudes that he's got so much personality and he's really funny and witty.
Yeah, he is.
And I think people just his whole career been like, we've got to do something with this guy. He's such a big personality, but just not everybody fits in a simple little thing. And, and it's like, I don't know who that show is for. It's like,
yeah, I think they all are basing it off this Ellen thing. They're just going, oh, ex-movie star. So they all have it where you do a regular talk show and he's charismatic. And for some reason at the end, it has to be a dance, no matter when. So he does a back it up dance at the end. And I'm like, dude, and today I watched it and he goes, you guys ready to back it up? And he backs it up for literally 3 seconds. And then they just all stop and start shaking hands and saying goodbye. Like, you're not even doing the dance, buddy.
I hate, and this is more of a me issue than a them issue, but I hate sort of forced frivolity, of like,
Yeah,
I hate watching people have fun.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I like seeing people actually have fun, but I don't like it. Like, now it's time for fun.
Yeah. It's like in Airheads where he goes outside. He goes, "Hey, we're having all sorts of fun in here. We got beer." You watch Airheads? It's fantastic.
Of course.
I
love
saw it
Airheads.
when it came out, but I don't think I've seen it.
So good.
Oh, it's great.
So yeah, that if I had to start my defense of Grosse Pointe Blank, it would be. All right, I'll even start with the aesthetics here. Cool outfit on Cusack the entire movie. He's in a, and also when this movie came out, it was after Reservoir Dogs, but I was in my Tarantino phase, and anything in that suit was cool to me.
Right.
So I was like, cool suit. It was like grown up Cusack is like in Reservoir Dogs almost. It was like this weird, dynamic, and Minnie Driver, and the Minnie Driver thing, I'm like, I had a crush on her. So right away, I was just on board, even with those aspects. And then on top of it, it's a funny movie. It's really funny. It teams him up with Jeremy Piven. Jeremy Piven, even though all those stories came out about him, is hilarious. He is funny.
Super funny actor.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's there's a reason why he kind of
PCU.
became the thing that people actually made Entourage worth semi-watching. I mean, he was the reason. I mean,
Yeah.
Imagine
Absolutely.
that show without Jeremy Piven on it. Like, who gives a shit?
No one would care. But also, Entourage, we've done the Entourage movie on this podcast before. I forget who defended it. And it might have been Matt
Jeremy
Goldich.
Piven?
I think it was Matt Goldich. Matt Goldich
Was
defended
it Jeremy Piven?
Yeah, it was Jeremy Piven. Yeah.
Piven himself.
That'd be funny if he just came in. He's like, listen, just fucking watch it, all right? But Entourage, you ever notice this about the show?
Nice
I watched
pronunciation.
Entourage. I watched every episode of that show, and when you realized the reason it fucked up is because the beginning they were goofing on that whole thing, and by the end they were like, "What's up, bro? This is amazing." In the
Well, they're
beginning,
actually big celebrities. It's like they're fish in water.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, exactly. So like it didn't translate after a while. It
But also, it was
wasn't
just
funny
like
anymore.
every damn they would set up these conflicts, and then just within 28 minutes, they'd somehow be all resolved. Like it all worked out.
Yeah.
Vince is not going to get that movie. Guess what? Vince got the movie.
And it would just end with a fucking rap song every time.
Yeah.
It would end with Dead Prez hip hop every time. Me and my roommate, we have a thing where it's so funny because whenever some episodes he would get bad news at the end of the episode. So literally, it's almost. I always feel like every time this same song would play, I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna be like, watch. And then we do that as a joke every time.
Here, I'll say a line that ends Entourage, then you can.
All
play
right,
the
but let
song.
me get the song first. Yeah. Here we go. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Shoot.
Ready? Here's my line.
Wait, let me get the volume up here. All right, hit the line.
There's only one problem, bro. They say you got to fire E.
It's just that bass line every time.
Yeah.
Totally.
Every time, every episode.
It's funny, they kind of do that on Silicon Valley as well, but I guess it's like meant to be sillier because they're, dorks, computer
so
guys,
it's
and
not
so
as
it's
like-
anachronistic.
But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh no, so that's the beginning of my defense of when it comes to Grosse Pointe Blank is right going into it. Like you have Cusack in it, and then both these movies have Cusack. So even if you cancel that out, cool outfit. Right away you have it's like the opening scene is badass where actually no, not the opening scene. When he gets to Grosse Pointe and he finds out his house that he grew up in is now a gas station. And that's another thing. It's very emotionally. Like you can connect to it. You're like, I would be devastated if the house I grew up in was a gas station.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I mean a lot of movies truck in nostalgia, and I don't mean that as an insult, but it's like that's a powerful thing that everybody can relate to. It's like, oh my god, the things I used to love don't exist anymore.
Grosse Pointe
Yeah,
Blank is
yeah.
all about nostalgia.
Yeah.
I mean, it's literally a reunion.
Yeah.
It's-
Which one? Grosse Pointe Blank?
Grosse Pointe Blank,
It's all about nostalgia.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
the point where he's like staring at the baby. Like I'm like, I almost cry every time I see that.
What's so awful now that I'm older though is like I see all these movies about guys going back for their 10-year anniversary. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
oh yeah,
yeah.
my 10-year anniversary was 10 years ago.
That's
15 years ago, actually.
I have not gone back for one.
You didn't go back for any?
My 20 is just happened. So
My 20.
I have not got back for one. I'm still friends with everybody from high school.
So it doesn't matter.
So it's like I don't need to see anybody else.
I went to my 20, but to be honest, I went to this thing before it at my friend Brad's house, and that was more fun. Then you get to the 20,
right.
Because it's almost like you're at a casting call. You get there, and everybody has the same story.
Well, my wife took me to her. I think it was 20th. Like we went down to Fort Worth to go to her 20-year reunion, and she's like, I just didn't really have that much fun. It's like, yeah. Because you have Facebook, you already know who's fat.
Yeah,
like you already know, more about these people's lives than is natural.
You know what their kids look like.
And so
it doesn't matter.
It does do a good job of getting the stereotypes right, though, of the jock, all the stereotypical high school tropes that that he runs into. The people who've never left.
Yeah. Well, everybody from I grew up in Long Island, and everybody from my town, they all did the same thing. They went to college, pretty much all the same college. I think it was like Loyola or whatever it was. Then they go and they go back to New York. They probably lived at their parents' house for a couple months, then get a job in the city. Lived in the city for 8 years, whatever it is. Met their significant other, then moved back to Garden City, to the town.
Identical to my town in Jersey.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah. It's like guys. It makes actually. You know what it did? And we're 3 comics here. It made me more proud of the decision that I made. Well, decision of keeping going with the life that we've chosen.
Tell us more about your roommate.
Dead Presidents comes on.
Holy shit, that was funny. Yes, okay. Now I'm gonna have no voice for the rest of the show. Oh my god, that's hilarious and 100% true.
No, but I know exactly what you're talking about. Though.
You know what I mean?
It's like, all right, I have chosen a different life. For better or for worse. You know what I mean? It's like, and at the end of the day, it's like you have to choose the life that you want to live. Do you know what I mean? That's and I look at that kind of life that you're describing as like, no fucking thank you.
You know what? Thank you. Right. There's times where I think of that life and I go, actually, that might be nice. Like, you get burnt out by the city, you get burnt out by the bullshit of comedy, you get burnt out whatever, and I'm like, it might be nice to have that set.
Of course.
And then when I went, I was like, no, I have more interesting days than these people have.
They're all jealous of you too. I mean, that's the hilarious thing. It's like they all look down on it theoretically, but then when they're actually around you, they're like, oh, tell us about comedy.
Absolutely.
Like,
do you ever go? My buddy is a townie who never actually left. Like, he's a contractor. Like just never even didn't finish college or anything. Maybe not even went to URI, failed down the first year, and he has a Christmas party every year, and all the other townies show up, and it's unbearable almost to the point where you're like, I love all you people, but I can't. I have to leave. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, because the same stories come up. It's the same thing over and over and over again. And also what happens is the people that you want to go to these things never, like as far as reunions go, they never go.
No, yeah.
Like,
it's kind of like comedy clubs. The people I really want to do comedy for don't go to comedy clubs on principle.
Nope, absolutely. But I have a couple buddies that were my best friends in high school, and both of them just didn't go. And then even the people that were at that pre-party thing, some of them, I was like, let's go, we'll hang out. And they're like, nah, I don't feel like going. I'm like, all right, and I'll just go and see what's up. I also had an awkward moment because, well, I don't know if I should tell this story. I'm not going to tell it. I'll tell another time. So anyway, so you're right.
God,
so
what a tease.
Grosse, I know. No, it's. I'll tell you after the show. Grosse Pointe Blank. Yeah, it does deal with reunions the entire time, so everything's nostalgic. So I think maybe that's why it gives me more of a warmer feeling than. But High Fidelity is the same way because. And also High Fidelity, when I watched it, I never had a relationship like that at that point. I didn't have. I didn't have that bad of a breakup, or I didn't live with anybody at that point when I saw it.
Yeah.
So Grosse Pointe Blank, but the same thing with Grosse Pointe Blank.
I can give you my reasons for why High Fidelity is great, and also my feelings about why Grosse Pointe Blank isn't.
All right.
Which would you prefer?
Start off with why High Fidelity is great.
I think that High Fidelity has a lot to say about the mistakes that men specifically make in relationships, and about jealousy, and about compartmentalizing, and about thinking that you can kind of nerd your way into a woman loving you just by knowing shit. I think that I think it hits a lot of male psychosis very well. Like when he's calling all of his ex-girlfriends, to sort of like ask them why. And,
Yeah.
And Catherine Zeta-Jones is like, this isn't going to be one of those like, where did it all go wrong? And then when he
that's what
finally,
it is.
and she's like, I knew it. I knew you were going to do this.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
It's such a guy. And also the one where he gets together with the girlfriend. She's like, you dumped me because I wouldn't have sex with you, and so I basically got date raped by this guy. And he's like, oh great, that's not on me either. It feels
But
very
he's learning,
resonant.
but he's not learning at the same time.
Yeah. And also just like as a music, like you have no idea how much thought I have put into putting together mixtapes over the course of my life.
I
Like,
love
Right.
that
just sort of,
aspect of
so
it.
that
I love
that really
aspect.
like relates. I really relate
Same
to that.
here.
See, I don't relate to the top 5 thing.
I love that
with
too.
the girlfriends. The girlfriends, now that I don't relate to because I don't think I had enough. I didn't have enough girlfriends at that point. I think I was dating somebody at the time I saw it, and I never had like and also never really been that guy. Like even since then, I've never been like gone back and been like, well, why did that fall apart? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think I had enough experience or something. I'm a religious
Well, yeah, I mean,
novice. I guess.
I was 5 years older than you, so yeah,
Yeah.
back in 2000, that makes a big difference
Yeah,
in terms of
absolutely,
where you're at in your life,
absolutely.
for sure.
So that's your reason. And what are the reasons
Grosse
for
Pointe Blank, I think, is a fine movie. I think it's fine. I first of all, it has Dan Aykroyd, which is an automatic demerit.
But he's great. It's one of the best things he's done.
Yeah, that's a low bar. To me,
Dan Aykroyd's great.
To me, there's no one who has gotten further on less than Dan Aykroyd.
Really?
yes. Talk a dude in the right place at the right time.
What about Keenan from SNL? Who's been there for 15 years?
I love Keenan though. I guess it's all personal taste. But I just Dan Aykroyd is the I'm trying to think of like who's a good example of someone who was just there at the right time. Arlo Guthrie. I don't know, like somebody who kind of was just like an
Arlo
okay.
Guthrie was his son, wasn't he?
Yeah,
His son?
but I don't know. I don't know what a good example is, but
I know
just
what
somebody
you
who
mean,
was just on the team, the Bill Wennington of he was on the '90s Bulls.
I see
James
I see
Belushi.
your point, but to be honest, I think that to me, Grosse Pointe Blank almost made him a little bit cooler. I think maybe I'm just into anybody playing a hitman.
That's a perfect role for Aykroyd.
And also, he's funny in it. Like he plays like this weird robotic. Like he's very
he
weird
gets
in
to
it.
do his Chicago kind of.
His Chicago. Hey, Jagov.
Right.
Yeah. Dan Aykroyd. I think Blues Brothers is like the most overrated movie of all time.
I will agree with that. I don't think it's as good as people think it is.
The music
And I'm not
sequences are good, but that's it.
And I don't have any kind of weird some tie to Aykroyd either. But I know what you're talking about. That phenomenon, somebody who's just there, and they kind of just coming along for the ride, and you kind of need them, like as the. But they do kind of serve. I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
the more
he's
I
a
think
straight
about
man, I guess.
Straight man,
it just doesn't.
But he's
Trading
charismatic.
Places is the only movie that I'll like fully
He's great.
endorse.
There you go.
him.
Yeah.
Well, that you kind of you blew it because that's actually he's really good in that.
He is. I mean, he's
really
fine in
funny.
it.
Yeah, he's
I
fine
don't
in
think.
it.
I think there's 50 other people who would have been just as good. But.
Yeah. I see your point. I definitely see your point about him.
But whatever. It's just that might be just a personal thing. Also, I think that the whole hitman seeing a therapist thing is a little bit rote. Like it's kind of a.
But back then, was it?
I don't know. That's a good
Because you had
question.
Sopranos after that. And he's not a hitman, but Analyze This was after 99.
But I always lump it in with that just glut of just he's a hitman, but he's got personal issues.
But also the therapist was in the beginning, and then during he calls and he's like, I'm like.
I just know that when it came out, I felt like I've seen that before.
But Analyze This is like the whole movie is the mobster going to the doctor. This is like he's in one scene, I think, in the doctor's office, and then in the middle he's like, "You're fired," and then he hangs up, and he's like, "Whatever."
And I think maybe I reacted in a way that was kind of the opposite of you did to John Cusack being in it. Like I didn't buy him as that guy. Like I didn't see him because I think of him as such sort of an everyman kind of a guy you'd be friends with, a guy who would sit at your lunch table in high school or whatever. It felt like a reach to me. It felt like here's where I do my adult character.
Well,
like that's how it felt to me.
To me, that appeals to me, and I think that's why I liked it so much because I was like, I like him already. Because let's be honest, like John Cusack is almost at a time, not as far as like level of fame, obviously, but he is at a Tom Hanks. You know that they say about Tom Hanks, like Tom Hanks can never play a character ever again because you're just watching Tom Hanks, and you're like, oh, it's Tom Hanks as a doctor, Tom Hanks as a captain.
Yeah, he tried doing it in Lady Killers.
But I realized I like that. Yeah. And I like the phenomenon of, not phenomenon, but the aspect of that because, and a perfect example, I think, that is Bill Hader and Barry.
Yeah.
Did you watch Barry?
Yeah, Barry's great.
He's great. He's great in it. Same thing.
But you're right, though. I kind of, when I saw the premise for Barry, I was kind of like, all right.
Me too.
Kind of
Me
thing.
too.
Yeah,
And then,
it's super good.
And also, whatever training they did with him to do, as far as firearms goes, he nails it. Like the part where he kills these 3 Russian guys, and the gun. It's such a badass scene. Like besides him being, and you don't think that with Bill Hader. He's Stefan. He's
Yeah, and I thought all the PTSD stuff was really impressively done.
Great.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it.
It's
like
really good.
Way more affecting than I would have expected.
It's way deeper. It's way it's keeping me way more interested than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, for sure.
But there you go. Same. You could it's almost like Grosse Pointe, like the TV show in a way. It's a little bit. It's different.
Yeah.
Because he wants to be an actor, and not whatever, and not just leave the life or whatever it is. And the whole leaving the life thing, it can be a little bit tired sometimes after that. But like, remember, this came out in '97, right? This is 97. None of this was almost at the time of like how I think Pulp was the Pandora's box that Pulp Fiction opened up was like these indie type blockbuster movies that came out and with these weird plots and then to have
also the very chatty murderer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, I'm a murderer, but I also argue about old episodes of Casper the Friendly Ghost.
The monologue murderer.
Also very honest. Like assassin, or like he's just completely self-aware. To like her father, I believe he's like, I'm an assassin.
Yeah, and the guy who doesn't care, he's like, oh, it's a great business. Yeah. That's funny though to me. And what I'm saying, this is the infancy of that. They didn't do that. Like everything. If you had gangster movies or assassin movies from before that, or assassins with Sylvester Stallone and Antonio Banderas, they are just trying to be cool the entire time. When this came out, it was
it's no ballistic X versus Sever. I couldn't get it out the first time.
Did that go down as one of the biggest bombs ever? Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, I
had zero interest in seeing that movie.
Yeah, I don't know anyone.
Talk about also like titles matter. That is the worst 100% title for a movie. Like Grosse Pointe Blank is like you don't know.
Was it based on like a graphic novel or something like that? That they had to.
It looked like characters from like Mortal Kombat to me.
Yeah,
like, they were doing that, whatever. But yeah, I think I like the throwing the fish out of water aspect of throwing this guy into this job. And that's one of the things that appealed to me about it, as opposed to High Fidelity, even though I do love him in High Fidelity. But you're like, yeah, John Cusack, not playing John Cusack, because it's such a great script, and there's so many great jokes in it, and he's phenomenal. But what you're doing is like, but it makes complete sense. This doesn't make as much sense, and he pulls it off. I think he pulls it off.
Yeah.
Because the whole movie's not about him going and killing people until the end. Like, it's not like you're like,
that's true.
Here's this chatty, self-aware assassin, and you're going to watch him kill people the entire movie. It's like, it's almost a thing, he's trying to get out of it the whole time. He's like, I want to go back, I want to,
I guess also, I do question the premise in the sense that I just don't believe that there are those guys who are trying to get out of it. Like, I believe that if you're the kind of person, once you've crossed that mental Rubicon of, I kill people for a living, I just don't see them being like, man, I gotta get back to the normal life. Like, I don't know if I'd buy that.
I think you would. Like, I think everybody, like we were talking before, changing with age. You get to a certain. Well, he also 28 in the movie. You're right, because it's like his 10 years. Isn't it?
Yeah,
which is really insane. Really annoys me now that he's he's probably 35 in the movie. Like, he's got to be.
Yeah, he's got to be.
But I think people change. I think that could happen. Like, realistically, at some point, somebody goes, like, it's got to be there's got to be an emotional factor that happens. Like, if something in your life changes and you're like, my job is killing people, you might view it differently. You might, I think people chemically change over time.
I just think that
if you have less testosterone when you're 30 than when you're 50, you might not be as okay with the idea of killing people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you become more emotional. That could change.
I suppose.
Is it
We're all chemicals?
Is it the girl in both? They both change, dude, because of the woman.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that's tale as old as time.
Yeah.
Right, but I mean, so I feel like
no, because he's already miserable.
I feel like he was already,
yeah.
And then Minnie Driver was the tipping point.
Yeah,
he was already trying to, and then he went there, and I think that was the trigger. Yeah, I think that, and then she sees what he does. When that's also another thing that's kind of cool about this is like, and it's just along the same lines as Barry, where it's there's that fight scene is pretty badass. 'Cause it's kind of funny and it's badass at the same time. That guy is like the guy in some Ukrainian kickboxing champion. The guy who's trying to track him down, the other assassin.
Yeah, I was doing some Wikipediaing on the way down here, and I was like, oh yeah, that dude. Like, yeah, he's one of those guys you've seen in like just
a couple movies. Stuff, but I think his main job was like a fighter.
Yeah,
like, he was a fighter. Yeah. Almost like there was a guy in that movie. Wasn't that 15 Minutes of Fame? Like 15 minutes. And he's this big diesel bad guy in the movie, but he's another guy who's like a cage fighter or whatever.
Do you guys know who Bolo Young is?
No.
Oh, he's from Enter the Dragon, right? No, that's the character. Bloodsport.
Oh, yes.
My stepbrother and I, this is back before the internet, so we didn't know like how to find the person they were. We used to just call him Chinese Gary Shandling.
Now I know exactly who you're talking about.
Of course.
But yeah, especially if you see like an older when he's younger, like when he's like really buff and beefy, and he's got that Gary Shandling.
I know exactly.
Absolutely.
Bloodsport was one of those movies I was into as a kid.
Great.
Remember Bloodsport? He
Kumite?
breaks the knee, and you see the knee part of the knee pop out.
I don't remember. I mean, I saw it.
Yeah, I would watch. I wasn't like a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. I would just watch fighting movies.
Like most dudes of our generation or whatever, my stepbrother and I were best friends, and our parents got married, and so we,
really
were friends.
Before,
yeah.
Well, that's crazy.
That's like a little kid dream.
Yeah,
I know. It totally
brothers.
Is. It totally is.
And then you guys stayed friends after that.
Yeah, we're still best friends now. I mean,
really?
our parents aren't married anymore, but we're still
wow.
friends. Yeah. But
are you guys the same age?
He lived with me. Yeah, 1 year older.
Right.
But he lived with me in New York for 4 years, and we would just rent baddies all the time. Like, that was just our thing, renting like shitty horror movies and straight video crap or whatever. And we got really into Billy Blank's movies. Do you remember who Billy Blank's? He's the guy who created Tybo.
Yeah, he had movies.
Which I do. I do Tybo when I can't get to a gym.
I can't believe he has movies.
A number of them. He was like a fifth tier Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, if you couldn't afford, I don't
How
even
bad
know.
was the movie?
They're awful.
Are they like good bad?
Some of them. Some of them are just bad.
Yeah,
but
isn't that an interesting thing that you can have good bad and bad?
Yeah.
Like, I remember being like when Glitter was coming out with Mariah Carey, I was like, I gotta see this. This is gonna be so, and it's just bad. It's not even.
Dude, I once saw Glitter in the theater, and the film kept shutting down. It was hilarious. And then at one point, the actual you would see in old movies, a big melt. It just melted.
Oh, yeah.
A big hole developed. And everybody just started applauding in the theater.
That actually happened. That happened to me during Scream in '96. Not 10 minutes before the reveal.
Oh, yeah.
Like the actual. And then for some reason, I never went back to it. Because we all walked out there like, sorry about that. Here's a free pass for the next time you want to come to movies. And I never, 3 years later, it finally, when it gets to HBO or whatever, I was like, oh, that guy did it. I just forgot.
My college friend, Skeet Ulrich.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that really your college friend?
We were in a poker group together. Yeah, I went to NYU.
I'm so glad that got brought
up. And we were
Johnny Depp, too.
Yeah. And he was a really nice dude, and so I don't, it's not his fault that he kind of fell into that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, people just painted that, whatever it was.
He was also an
I went to movies with my dad once, and what'd you say he was?
He's an extremely rich kid, too. So,
was he?
I mean, he had his own apartment in Gramercy Park, so.
Yeah, he'll be okay. Yeah. Call me whatever you want.
But he was a totally nice dude.
Yeah. Me and my dad went to movies once, and the movie theater got hit by lightning, and they gave us free tickets.
Really?
Yeah, and it shut down the whole thing. Yeah, it was crazy.
Huh.
What'd you call it? So you would say, I would also say, so they have that fight scene in Grosse Pointe Blank. I would say it's not as deep. You don't learn as much. Grosse Pointe Blank, you kind of do. It's like, the only thing is, Grosse Pointe Blank makes more sense to me now. The emotional factor of it makes more sense to me now than when I first saw it. Like him going, I was 97. I was 10 years. That was they were old. They were old in my eyes. I was like, oh man, 10-year reunion. I had just gotten out of high school a year prior.
Yeah.
So I was like, now if I watch it, the whole idea of what have I done with my life, and after doing comedy for 13 years, I do have, like, the more I'm talking about it, I'm like, oh, I would relate to it more. I think it'd be deeper for me now than the first time I saw it. But there are moments in it. But I know what you mean. They're not as genuine as the moments in High Fidelity. I'll give you that.
Yeah, they're not meant to be. I mean, it's meant to be more of a straightforward movie comedy.
Yeah.
Whereas, High Fidelity was a book. It was it was a movie made of a book, and the book is great.
The book is great. I've read it multiple times.
Yeah, and it's different. Like it's set
in London first of all.
Yes,
and it's
there's some great things in the book that didn't make the movie that I'm not sure why. Decisions have to be made.
If you're thinking of the same, it's where he finds the treasure trove of old albums.
Oh yeah.
And he emotionally can't take it away from, because in the book, an ex-wife vindictively is selling her ex-husband's collection, which is like, so she's like, give me, and she's like, name your price and you can take this all away. And emotionally, he's like, I can't do that to this guy. And he just leaves them.
Really?
Yeah. Like every record he would ever want is in this collection. He's like, I can't do it to the dude.
They should put that in the movie.
Yeah, it's a great scene in the book.
It would have related to the movie.
There's also one line in the book that I can't remember it exactly, but it just, oh God, it really hit me like a ton of bricks, where he's talking about the way his girlfriend relates to him or whatever, and it's like, it's not the lack of love, it's the lack of respect. And I was like, oh, like just, because that's what really like cuts a man down. It's like when you can tell that your wife or girlfriend just like has no fucking respect.
It's like when your parents are like, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's not what I'm used to here.
Better soundtrack?
Well, I mean, I will say, Grosse Pointe Blank, it's a little bit late on in the fact that it's like, we'll make her a DJ, and that'll kind of help us. I mean, it definitely felt like John Cusack was like, I want this movie to have lots of cool music in it.
Also, it's
in
that way, it's a little bit of a, not period piece, but it is because they're reunion.
Yes.
So it's all like Mirror in the Bathroom. And
Yeah. Mirror in the Bathroom is like such a movie song.
It's so perfect.
Such a movie song.
Did this start it, or no? I guess it was in a couple, right?
It was in. I think it was in at least one John Hughes movie, and I think it's also in Valley Girl.
I think it's in one of the dance scenes in a John.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I guess I give it to High Fidelity just because it doesn't. It's multi genre crossing.
Yeah, it's a little more broad. But
I think I did learn about a few bands from High Fidelity, like just because at that time, I was like, I'll check that out.
I owned that album, and I was so like, I'm cool.
I already had it. No big deal. Wait, that came out what, 2000? That was 99.
2000.
High Fidelity.
Oh yeah, High Fidelity 2000.
2000.
But yeah, watch me sell 5 albums of the Beta Band, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this is really good. I know.
And it's just like, first of all, also the casting in that movie. I mean, the perfect Jack Black role. Before you kind of knew what the Jack Black shtick was.
Yeah, if you're going to give Aykroyd a demerit, you got to give Jack Black a demerit.
I will not.
A demerit? Why?
I would say for his Jack Blackianisms,
No,
I'm still a sucker for the Jack Blackianisms, but that was
the best thing that he's done to date, maybe.
Well, that's because we didn't have an overkill of him at that. That was the perfect entry point for him.
Yeah, that's true.
But also
Mike White, I think, is the other.
No, Todd Luizzo.
Right.
Mike White is in School of Rock.
Right.
Todd, but funny that he reminds you of Todd Barry, and his name's Todd as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, with the air conditioner scene, when he goes,
But
what's great about man?
But what's great about those two characters, though, is that they totally. And one of the things that I actually love about 16 Candles as well is that they show that like not all nerds are the same. That there's like a hierarchy even within the nerd community. Like a lot of times you'll watch like a bad TV show and the nerds are all like, "Well, we like math." And then, whereas like no, there's alpha nerds and there's beta nerds and there's some nerds who are chocolate, some who are peanut butter. You know what I mean? And so it's like you have Jack Black as being that sort of aggro, aggressive, like buffoonish nerd, and then you have Todd Luizzo who's just like the dweeby, like
and
and
nice
it was nice
guy.
to see from Sarah Gilbert again.
Yeah,
I haven't seen her in a while.
All right, so let's do this. What would be your final argument for High Fidelity? Why it's better than Grosse Pointe Blank?
That it has more to say, and that it is it's better for repeated viewings.
Better for repeated. Oh, see, I'll disagree with that. I'll watch. I'll say this in retort of that. I will watch Grosse Pointe Blank as much as I would watch High Fidelity.
Well, I mean, put it this way: I haven't watched Grosse Pointe Blank since it came out.
Really?
So, yeah. So I mean, that might be on me, but it's like I've never felt compelled to. Whereas like High Fidelity, if it's on cable, I'm watching it.
So if it's on cable, will you go past it?
I mean, I assume I must have at some point.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got to have been on cable at some point, and I've just skipped past it.
I'll say this: I think my final argument would probably be, I think your points are completely valid. I just think that Grosse Pointe Blank probably has more fun to it. I think when you get to the third act of Grosse Pointe Blank, at least it's not as dramatic. Like High Fidelity one, like is pretty hardcore drama.
You're right. There's no real ticking clock in High Fidelity. You know what I mean? Like, there's no action. You know,
there's no action. Yeah. So at least they have more fun in Grosse Pointe Blank. I think the Minnie Driver thing sticks out. I think it's hard for me because I like High Fidelity a lot. I'm wondering Grosse Pointe Blank. I've probably watched them both equal amounts of times. I think I'm just a John Cusack fan. Yeah. I'm realizing that now. I'm like, I'm just a really big fan. Because as I'm saying...
Well, I know. I've seen your lower back tattoo.
As I'm talking to you guys about it, and your faces were just kind of like... I thought you guys would be like, yes, John Cusack. And you're both like, yeah, I guess.
No,
the point you're like...
I'm a John Cusack fan. I don't...
But I remember...
He's a bit much on Twitter.
Is he?
He's a bit much.
I don't even know if I follow him on Twitter. So I guess I'm not a fan.
He's great. I mean, he believes all the things I believe. He just believes them with an intensity that can be a little off-putting at times.
Yeah. You know, he's got a lot of time in his hands. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, he's
just always been there. You know, like know, like what you were saying earlier. Like when you had that, like Channel 11 growing up. You know, in the tri-state area, you had like Better Off Dead and One Crazy Summer. We're just on
16 Candles.
So you just identified with him. And
Con Air is in.
Yeah, he's in
Sure Thing.
I'm pretty sure the
Sure Thing.
Yeah, the one where he quoted as the one movie
he regrets
took the paycheck for. You know, like
is that what he said?
Yeah. He's like, I just. But
I think that you having you had another point I'll make to kind of defend my thing is Jeremy Piven. You have the team up in Grosse Pointe Blank. Oh, you don't have it in High Fidelity. No Jeremy Piven team up, and they're like known for that. They're almost like the Abbott Costello.
You have Joan.
Joan Cusack. Well, she's in Grosse Pointe Blank,
right?
Yeah.
And she's in both.
Oh, and she's in both. Yeah,
and she's in both. So I would say I think it's the more fun aspect.
And what's weird is that she doesn't play his sister in either, even though she's clearly his sister.
I know. Yeah,
they look so much alike.
Yeah. They're like, they're just random person that looks exactly like
We're actually talking about Laura.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, thanks for doing this, Joe. I appreciate it, man.
Pleasure's
Did you have fun?
Great.
I think we've got it sussed out now. No, I do kind of want to watch Grosse Pointe Blank.
I'm telling you, man.
It is good.
I think you have to. I think it's. What I will say is, I think it's heavier than you think it is. Mm-hmm. I think if you watch it now if you can. If it's on, watch it and tell me what you think, because I think he's going through more than just like it's not as frivolous. I think as it presented. I think there's more weight to it. Not as much as High Fidelity, but it's a heavier movie than you'd assume. But it would make more sense if he was 40 in the movie. To be honest, he should have been. I will say that he should have been 40 in High Fidelity, not 28. Because 28, it's like, come on.
It's like the best part of your life. It's like literally the prime of your life.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, and he's like, I'm going through some shit. And that was 97. It wasn't like it was like.
So that means so you went to the Army. So that means you've only been doing this like 4 years.
Yeah. You can get out of it. It's fine. Andy, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Of course, man.
Thank you guys. What would you like to plug, Christian?
Well, if you're a UK person, I'm at the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh all of August. Nice. Doing a solo show.
And where can they look up the info for? Your Twitter or your
ChristianFinnegan.com, or I'm at Christ Finnegan on Twitter.
Okay, great. And Andy?
At Andy Fiori on everything. And if you're in San Francisco, Punchline all next weekend. Depending on when this comes out. July 18th through the 21st.
Who are you there with?
Soder.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yes, and I am at Shawnee Time on Twitter. We have at Defend Your Movie on Twitter for the podcast. Also, we tape this at Showbiz Studios. That's showbizstudios.com. Check out their YouTube page and their iTunes page, and check out all the other Showbiz Studios shows. Let us know what you think. Give us defendyourmovie@gmail.com. Send us an email and let us know what you think of the new format, what movies you think we should do, and we will try to accommodate. And we really appreciate you listening, and we will see you next week. We love you. Goodbye. Bye.